Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of Wazadon TV. Today, I have another very special guest, man, good friend and brother, and just a man of the culture, from being a top tier journalist to an author to an educator, a five percenter, somebody who has the longest running class at a law school in Mecca, also MC, right? And so a man that wears many different hats. On those hats, you're probably gonna see a polo sign on it. You know what I mean? But I just want to, welcome my guest. Peace to the God, Sunez Allah.
Oh man, peace, God, man. It's an honor to be here, man. It's always to build with you, man. You have such great shows, man. Lately, the guests have been saying so many things. They say what I want to say. They research more of what I want to research, what I can't research. You know what I mean? Like it fills the holes. You know what I mean? It fills the holes. It's powerful, man. It's
Man,
powerful.
I appreciate you, God. I appreciate you. So you have a new album out, and we're definitely going to get into that. But before we get into some of the nuts and bolts of the album, you have do you have a new The Real of book that has come
I
out?
I do, I
Mhm,
do, I do. I
mhm.
could fetch that real quick. You know
Yeah,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
But yeah, the reel of 2024.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Right here, got it right here.
Yeah.
You know what I
See,
mean?
for
And
everybody that doesn't have any of the ones in this series, I mean, it's an extensive breakdown on all of the albums that came
and
out in 2024, and guaranteed it's going to be full of albums that you probably missed. Like soon as I don't know how you do it as far as just listening to so much music and being able to,
yeah,
digest it, man. Like, can you just talk about some of that process? Because I know it's not easy, man.
nah, it's not easy process. It's you ever have an assignment that you're always behind on?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that you
yeah.
like, yo, forget this, man. Forget this. You know what I mean? That's really that's really how it is because I have to make a list of all the albums, right?
Hmm.
Then I have like little list of albums that I don't have yet,
Mm, hmm,
but I know
hmm,
that they're gonna come out, so I don't want
hmm.
to forget.
Right.
Then in that list, then I have like saved albums on my YouTube Music
Hmm, hmm.
come out, other screenshots of other Bandcamp albums, like
Hmm,
all of this is loaded throughout the year. And after a while, it's like I always liken it to a perfume shop.
hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you smell them, and you can have that coffee. They give you the coffee grind, so that way you
Yeah.
could get your palate back.
Hmm.
It's very difficult to get the palate back.
Mm,
If it wasn't for jazz, soul, and salsa and stuff, I
yeah.
wouldn't be able to get the palate back. I think what happens is that I've been doing this so long
Hmm.
that when I decided to do this, I didn't know it was going to be this many albums. So
Right.
like when
Right.
I started writing these reel of books
Hmm.
and I started with 2020, I didn't know that they were going to be so many albums. I only thought that I thought that brothers wouldn't dare to release so much work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Right.
of course, I mean, of course I was wrong. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And the problem is, as far as making it easy for me, is that legendary artists to me in this era are releasing massive amounts of quantity. So, like, look at the God, Brass Fresco.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
which Magneto is right album do I kick out?
Right.
Because I'm overburdened. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Which one of the eight? Because they were all incredible.
Absolutely.
Even if I think the forward progression got better and better, that's exactly why I have to review it now because now I have
Mm,
to show you the forward progression. So
hmm.
there's always a reason to put everything in. So honestly, Rakim, like I just try to listen really well. I
Yeah.
try to get everything out of the first listen, and it sounds funny, but I don't write when I don't feel positive about the music.
Mm,
When I'm just pissed off about the industry, everything. I don't listen to music because I'll find only the flaw. And my
yeah.
style of writing, when I decided I quit hip hop a couple of times
Hmm.
as far as a journalist. And it always has to do with the issues I had with a major magazine. So if I was at Source Vibe Double XL, that actually counts the amount of times I quit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
It was because of each of those.
Yeah.
When I started to write again, it was because I was able to get my own forms. So
Mm,
getting my own forms, then I was able to write, and I was like, I'm not gonna write about stuff I don't like. So I'm not gonna write like long-winded articles about why Drake is whack. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
right.
And you know what's funny? The rappers did that already, right? Lamar did that for me. I don't need
Yeah.
to go through a whole thing about why he's whack or why I don't like him. I want to spend time with why our music is good because years from now, our children, I want them to look back and read about music that was like, yo, man,
hmm
this era was crazy, man. We
Kind of
lived through it.
like how we go back and read about jazz, right?
Yo,
Like,
the same way, man.
hmm
And you already know because we built on it on air and off air
right.
that jazz writers influenced me. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And I go back and I love to read the stories. You know, when I used to listen to Phil Shapp when he was doing his Birdland program and all these great stories, and I was like, man, those guys, man, all the problems, all of the horrible problems of the industry, all their mistakes and everything like that. I just was remembering great stories of music
Yeah.
being made. And I wanted that to be for our generation because people were like, the 90s was it.
hmm
It's the peak of it. It's over already. Everything is a rehash. And I disagree with that. And I've always disagreed with that. That it's a combination of rehash and new progressive stuff, you know? And I hope that the books when they pile them up as encyclopedias, because now on this one that I'm doing now, I'm
hmm
not doing them in the categories I do them. I'm
Mm,
just listing them now. From now on,
hmm
till 2025, I'm doing it onward. They're just going to be listed like encyclopedic.
Yeah.
So you'll be
hmm
able to look them up alphabetically.
Nice.
You
Right,
know what I
right,
mean?
right.
And because that's how people have been reading them. You know, they,
hmm
they they always go to who they like though. Yo, you
Oh
got this,
yeah, that's that's I can't lie, that's what I do too.
right? And I
Yeah.
like that, you know, and then you
Yeah.
find other guys on the way, you know what I mean?
hmm
And then you find like, oh, he talked about him like the way he talked about my favorite guy.
Mm,
He must be good too.
right, right.
So I want to put it like an I'm putting it more, even more and more like an encyclopedia. And that's how I do it. I do it because I remember that I love this. I remember that I always wanted to be a writer, just a writer,
hmm
Rakim, a
hmm
writer of revolution, of getting our life together, of building. And the hip hop was the way that I was able to express that, able to define my voice, right? I MC now, able to find my artistic voice in all these different forms, whether paper, print, or oral. So, you know, when I have that vibe, then I just write. It's beast mode writing, Rakim.
Yeah.
Beast
Yeah.
mode writing, and I try to get the most out of the fewest listens. And nobody really gets mad because I listen really well. You
Yeah.
know, I
No, that's
listen really well.
I think that's evident with how you write. And one thing that I kind of wanted to ask you about in regard to that is like we'll see, like let's say somebody drops an album, somebody that may have uh some money behind them, so the album is really visible, right? And then
Mhm.
like there's some anticipation. Like let's even like I guess with this Mass Appeal rollout, like let's say the Slick Rick album that came out, right?
Right, right.
Um, and the Friday when it comes out, you will see people already either saying it's the best thing ever or it's trash, right?
Right,
Like,
right,
like,
right.
um,
Yeah.
and I always think about you whenever this happens because I don't think people really understand that when it comes to, especially with your jazz background and the inspiration that you've taken from jazz music and jazz journalism,
Mhm.
like there is a science to listening to an album and then writing about an album, right? Like it's not just Stephen A. Smith hot take culture.
Yo, the hot take stuff, the Stephen A stuff is like, it's like you see a dunk and you go, I've never seen a dunk like that. And there's like Dr. J elbow, like, when you see an elbow over the rim and
Yeah.
young brothers, they be like, yo, I never seen a dunk like that. That's dope, man. But I have though. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
right, right,
Like
right,
you
right.
saw it already, like you saw Jordan do that like regularly, you know? And I think this though, who I'll give some non-jazz influences, right?
hmm
You know, when I'm forgetting the name of the website that Questlove and the Roots started. What's the name of the site?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
OK
I know what you're
Player,
talking
OK
about. Yeah,
Player.
okay. Oh, yeah,
Right?
yeah. Okay, player.
When OK Player started, that wasn't what it is now, though. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? OK Player was actually just like a sounding board for Questlove.
hmm
you know? And I've always respected Questlove for his musical mind and genius because he has a scholarly mind when he deals with music because he has so much of it.
Right.
I mean, he's the only guy that I read in hip hop that he has more music that makes mine looks like a kid collection. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
his is
And you
ridiculous.
got a lot of music, by the
Yeah, and
way.
mine's just like I was just like
Yeah,
you know, I was just giving it up. But I read all of it. He writes such good books and everything, and he has such insight. But he had one article that articulated what I thought in the beginning. Because when I started writing reviews, I would say certain things was classic, and I said, listen to this though. I said certain things was classic because I wanted it to represent the culture.
Mm,
Ah, that's different
right.
being a great album. So
Yeah.
when it first came out, it was 1996, right?
Hmm.
I heard De La Soul Stakes is High, and I was like, I wrote, it's a classic, blah blah blah. It's because everything that they were about in the album is what I want hip hop to be about and needed to be about.
Right.
It's a classic album. Nobody would say I was wrong.
Hmm.
The problem was is that the next week and the next week after that, I'm getting Hell on Earth. Then I'm getting Philadelphia Half Life.
Right.
Then I'm getting Iron Man, and I'm like, ah, shit! I already wasted the classic word. I wasted the word, and now my reviews is gonna look dumb because I keep saying that this
This a
classic.
classic. This is a
But
classic,
we look
right?
back, right,
Uh-huh.
God, we look back. They're all classics. But
Hmm.
when I'm writing about it, it looks real dumb on paper for me to go
Right.
on week after week. Philadelphia is a classic. Then I get Iron Man. That's a classic. I look real bad. I look
Right,
real
right.
bad as a writer. So I was like, yo, there's got to be a way where I could analyze these albums in a better way. And Questlove wrote that you've got to sit with the album and deliberately listen to it 5 times. Now,
Mm,
this is before the flood, which makes things
yeah.
possible.
Hmm.
5 times and 5 times not in a sequence. So
Mm.
basically, not in one sitting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you could get off maybe one or two in one sitting, but you got to get a listen. You got to listen to it more than one time in different sittings.
Mm.
So that way
Hmm.
you can get different vibes in your own mind and you hear it differently. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
I live with the album.
Yeah.
And I took that to heart. And I always, over the years, since you can't do that, you can't write what I'm writing by doing that 5 times times
Yeah.
250 albums.
Cause look how thick that book
Yeah, I
is.
mean, these joints are 600 now, you
Yeah.
know? So I'm like, if I could do it in such a way where I could in my mind and on the page itself explaining to the listener or the reader that these are all the biases I have as I listen.
Mm.
And even as I listen, I try to describe the music with notes to my bias on
Hmm.
how, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
And I think that's the best way because then when people read it, they go, somebody's gonna go, oh, I know what Sunez likes though. He don't like this kind of let's say I'm saying, right? He don't
Hmm.
like the savage chick stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but he said it was very well done. So, and I'll be honest with you, like a great example is Mussolini.
Mm.
I give Mussolini bad
Yeah, shout
reviews
out.
every
Yeah,
single.
peace to Mussolini. Yeah,
I
yeah.
give him horrible reviews almost every book. And he's one of the best MCs I ever write bad about
Hmm.
because I don't really respect that kind of content.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying the
yeah.
repetitiveness and the duplication of the content.
Hmm.
So because I don't respect that pimp content, I let it be known. I
Hmm.
let it be known why I'm doing that.
Hmm.
And but I also am able to highlight his skill sets.
Yeah,
Perfect
yeah.
voice, the perfect pockets, great music chosen. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So people get an idea like, yo, he didn't like these albums. But what he said, I know it's something that I like too.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I get you listening to some. So because I'm trying to put quality in the book and not just the message that I agree with.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And that's all you could do. That's all you could do. That's all you could do. I'm not supposed to be the only person that does that
Right. You're
because I'm
supposed to
the
be
only
able to
one.
have people are have
Yeah.
a diverse I guess, or at least a handful of people that may have diverse opinions about something,
Right.
but they're all
Right.
coming from it in
And,
an analytical way.
word. And the other guy I wanted to mention was like because they had some really beautiful events that I didn't attend on purpose. I didn't attend them on purpose because I miss him too much, and I just didn't want to do it.
Hmm.
And they had these great car legacy things,
Oh
events.
yeah,
And
yeah. That's some
I
powerful.
deliberately didn't make it, Rakim, because I
Hmm.
wrote about him so much. in the beginning of his career and got to
Hmm.
build with him so much in the beginning of his career and meet him later as he became a legend. He became a legend.
Yes.
Um, I just had so much love for him. I just was like, I don't want to celebrate that way.
Hmm.
I really would tear up when I was there. I really would, and I just didn't want to do it. Like I didn't want to do it, and I gave myself a lot of excuses not to go, and those excuses won out. But when I first heard, it was one of my students told me like, "Yo, Sunez, you would really like Ka,"
Hmm.
and I started to watch some of the videos. Cause remember, Grief Pedigree album,
Hmm.
his first great classic. He made videos for every song.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
saw some of the videos and it was kind of almost late at night,
Hmm.
right? And I said, you know what, it's getting late and I'm getting tired. This is definitely something I need to listen to more carefully.
Hmm.
So I already knew what I had to listen to more carefully because, it was so good. I knew I had to go back to see why it was even that great instead of doing oh, it's a classic, it's a classic.
Yeah.
I got to figure out why, you
Yeah.
know? And I kind of used my Thelonious Monk rule
Hmm.
because Thelonious Monk sounded crazy and I knew I had to go back. I mean, I knew I had to go back because you never understand all that in one shot,
Right.
even if it sounds fly to you. And that's all you can do. That's all you can
No, I think that's a dope approach, and I think that's an approach even people who are just fans of music might not be writing about it. Should, it's something that valuable that they can take with them, because I mean we're in an era obviously where now you kind of mentioned so much music coming out. The average listener is not going to be able to consume all of it, and so whenever you're at least consuming the stuff that you like and the stuff that's in your pocket, right? I think it's important to try to understand it, right? Understand who's making those beats, where that sample come from, what kind of
exactly.
rhyme schemes are they using, who is
And,
that singing that
and
hook?
I'll say this though. I think a
Mhm.
lot of the scholarship overrates things because they basically have gotten lazy and they make the pool of artists smaller.
Oh yeah.
I'm including all of the artists. They
Hmm.
make the pool smaller and then they
Hmm.
exaggerate the rhymes in there. This is why I thought and then they also continue to do commercial things in the underground. So
Hmm.
they continue, and I'm talking about the listeners and media. They
Hmm.
continue to value the rollout.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh
This
yeah,
is
yeah,
like when
yeah.
clips came
we
out.
yeah, we saw
I
a lot
didn't
of that.
bother. They valued Did people really like the clips or they did just value the rollout?
Mhm.
I saw a lot of tweets are like, yo, man, you gotta give it up to the clips with their rollout. We giving props to a rollout?
I
You know what I'm
think
saying?
I think people I think it's because people really haven't it's kind of like the Dr. J analogy that you made.
Mm,
We Some people they haven't seen a rollout like that
yeah,
before because they just
it's funny
wasn't
because
there.
we come from the days when like major labels would make big rollouts for really whack albums.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will
Like
say
albums
this
that,
one rollout that I did like, and I don't know why it's always stuck in my head. Yeah, I know you were around the Def Jam Month of Man when Redman There's a Dark Side and Method Man to
right?
Cow came out.
Yeah, that was actually quality rollout. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
those are
yeah.
great albums too. You know what I
Right,
mean? But
right.
they
That
made
doesn't
a
help,
big
right?
rollout for
I heard, I
Loonies. You know
mean.
what I mean?
Yeah,
And it only
yeah,
had one song on it.
right.
But the thing is that like when people always you're as anti-capitalist as I am, and so people respect the hustle
Mm.
more than what is being hustled.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? They
Hmm.
respect the quality of the hustle more than the actual what is being
Mm.
hustled here.
Right.
So I see people analyze lyrics and I'm like, yeah, you're really overdosing the analysis here. It's crazy. Like just because Malice put the numbers in there doesn't mean that it's the most complex numerology in the verses ever. You
Right.
know what I mean? And they really overrate it. And in the end, though, it was just really dope crack bars. It was, don't make it more than it was. Like
Hmm.
it didn't solve world hunger. Like it was crack bars. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
didn't even question the hustle.
Hmm.
It very rarely questioned the hustle, the album. So like and the listeners don't do this, but you expect media to. They don't really put the context. So they're not putting an album like the Clips or other albums into the context. So like, what context I mean? Like just babyish context. I don't mean like even totally different content, but the Clips to do a proper review. Where's the context of that album within the great works that Boldy James has done?
Mm.
Because he's been
Right.
on that shit forever.
Yeah.
this last 15 years, and
Hmm.
he's kind of the leader in that shit.
Hmm.
So there's no context, so the listener doesn't get, yo, if you like the clips, you really should be listening to Boldy and others, and you know
Because
what I mean?
didn't even Boldy drop an album that same Friday, right?
He's got like 9 albums.
Yeah.
He's the bane of my existence this year.
Yeah.
Because I was like, nah, I'm not reviewing anymore. And then my man Nicholas Craven does an album. I have to do
Yeah,
that
like you
one.
gotta do
That's my
it.
man Craven though. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
shit. Like,
You
so
know, well, that kind of leads me to I guess the perfect segue. You have a new album and amazing album with True Cipher, Peace to the
yeah.
God, and King Kamaal on there, and Peace to the God. So first, Lovo Sinatra. If you can
Yeah.
explain the title for
Yo,
those who
what's funny is that,
Uh,
being in this hip hop shit, you get so many names, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
do I'm part of the Low Lives, and I'm part of the Low Lives because of what I did as a writer and in the
Hmm.
community, because
Hmm.
low life that gave me L's as a low life is a 5%.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Rakim's Supreme Shabazz, aka Rudy Lowe. And
Peace to the
so
God.
he used to run in Brownsville with Thurston Howe, with
Hmm.
Bones Malone,
Hmm.
and that was the trio. And so he saw what I was doing in the community with the law school in Mecca all those years, but he didn't know all the things I did in hip hop. And then he was like, yo, he had gone to Bones Malone, and Bones Malone was like, oh shit, that's the only guy I read. And I was like, word, Bones Malone said that to you?
Wow.
So
Wow.
he was
That's
like, yo, you
legendary.
gotta be in this thing. And I was like, man, I got like 3 polo shirts, man. You know what I mean? And slowly but surely, I got inculcated a lot of the gods is low, like
Mhm.
Lifa and Ras Fresco, Born King up
Mhm.
a lot of the brothers rock with the low. So, getting into the clothing fashion, and style was easy. Um, and then it was Thurston Howell the third who named me Skill Illustrator Low. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
And
such an ill name.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I don't know if I ever told you that story. We were at Sean Price's wake,
Mhm.
and Spit Gems was describing me to other MCs.
Mm.
And me as a writer, that I'm not
Mhm.
just like a journalist that'll write about your He's not a journalist that's just gonna write about your shit. He's something else. And Thurston Howe busts through. He literally pushed everybody out the way, and he goes, "That's the Skill Illustrator." I was like,
Mm.
"Oh shit, I ought to call myself that." He just called me that. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, that's fire, man.
Yeah. So it's just been a lot of honor and respect from those brothers and sisters. But a lot of nicknames come about and shit like that. And a lot of people don't know that Frank Sinatra is one of my favorite singers. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Mhm.
If I had to say the greatest singer of all time, we count greatness not just in like the levels of the voice of this, but also the achievements of song, classic albums. I would immediately throw out in any genre, I'd probably say Frank, because he has that many classic albums.
Mm.
He could do jazz, that's
Mhm.
important. You know what I'm saying? Um, and he had the voice. Really had that voice. Most people judge him by the later recordings when he didn't have the voice. He just kind of spoke his lyrics.
Yeah.
But New York, New York, and all those songs. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? My way.
My
But
way, yeah, absolutely.
when you do it like that, and when I was learning with King Kamal how to MC, I always looked at him as like Quincy Jones. You know what
Mm.
I mean? So it
Mhm.
was like Quincy and Frank. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's fire.
When they were doing Fly Me to the Moon,
Mhm.
and he really taught me how to do songs. And he always got me in the approach. It's not about just the skill sets on the song. It's not about that first and foremost. First and foremost, it's always about the actual song.
Yeah.
What is the song about? And how do you achieve the song at a great level?
Mhm.
So that always stuck with me as trying to learn, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
then the Lovo thing comes, just flipping the polo, low life, and just Hector Lavoe, which is another favorite singer of mine. It has that style, that
Mm.
swagger, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And Lavoe was really like the first singer out of hip hop that I ever heard to me that had a brashness like hip hop. Because when you listen to salsa, especially Hector Lavoe, he was actually rhyming the last couplets because in salsa they rhyme the last couplets and they go
Hmm.
back and forth and they rhyme them. And he had battle bars. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
He had battle bars. They really were offensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
I just combined the Sinatra, Sunez Sinatra, low life, Lovo Sinatra, and just made that the title. You know what I mean? Because it came to be like another nickname flip.
Nah, it's dope, man. And again, love the album. Um, if you can, as far as the music itself, and we're gonna get into some of the songs on there and get into the nuts and bolts of things. But overall for the project, what was the, inspiration behind the album? And I guess what was the mindset
Yeah.
you were in whenever you're putting this body of work together?
The Lovo Sinatra remix, the True Cipher remix,
Mm-hmm.
I did that song with a totally different tempo for the Zen of Us album, but it
Yeah.
was one stylistic record.
Mm-hmm.
And the names Lovo Sinatra, like,
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, this don't really fit the album, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like my tone on it, and I didn't like my tempo. And so I found the perfect True Cipher beat, for that. But that was what I was thinking what the album would be like. It would have a lot of style and techniques. Me doing different tempos that fit the songs, but also having a lot of poetic sensibilities to it because I always
Yes.
like the poetic sensibilities within the whole thing. And kind of merging that because that's really kind of what I am. I have a lot of anger. I've always
Mm-hmm.
written that since my first column in '94. You know what I mean? Always had a lot of anger to the system, to what's going on around us, to the things that we deal with, to also teaching our people, but also with the depth of poetry and the beauty of the word. So I tried to make that what the album was. And True Cipher, they was like, yo, we want to give you a lot of beats. And I was like, hey, yeah, let's do it. And I picked those out and they just, they worked for what I wanted to do. And
Those
in
beats
the
are
in,
no, beats are fire on the album. I mean,
they
I
don't
have to
they
say
don't
that
have
they really
anything.
are.
They don't have anything whack. So I just go for like vibe. Like this is angry, this is rugged,
Hmm.
smooth, and I just try to keep it that contrast right there. You know what I mean? And they had so much shit, man. I didn't even use everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, no, they like for real. Like I
yeah.
was,
So
and especially and in the car, man. Like that's the kind of shit that make you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It give you
and
that
the
feeling.
thing about True Cipher is that I've really learned how to rhyme with their beats because they have so much open space.
Hmm. Hmm.
As an MC, when you rhyme on a track. There's kind of pockets that you just want an open space where you could do what you want. You could go into
Yeah.
the pocket when you need to. There are a lot of beats where you have to go into the pocket when you're supposed to.
Right.
With True Cipher, you could go in the pocket when you're ready to kind of go in. Like Illustrator Penned and
Hmm.
those kind of songs. I could go in the pocket when I feel like it. And they just let me do what I want to do. But what was crazy about the album as a totality, I shared King in the beginning. I was telling yo, am I choosing beats for what I want to do here? Because I told him what I want to do with the album, and then I shared with him the beats that I chose, and he was like, "Yeah, you did." He agreed with me, and he said, "Let me take some of these,"
Hmm.
and he made choruses. So every single
Mm.
chorus on the album,
Hmm.
he did that with none of my lyrics, and he
Wow.
did that in one day.
Wow.
In one day, he gave me back all of those choruses in
Wow.
their spots where they belong, and I'm
Hmm.
actually inserting my verses perfectly within the spots.
Yeah.
And
First, I'd like to say shout out to King Kamaal, peace to the
yo,
God, man.
he
He's a
he bugs me out with that shit.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
said, listen, all the I spent my career exposing Jay-Z, and then he's doing Jay-Z shit. It's very annoying, but no, for real. Yeah.
The one of the joints, all right, track two, Invisible Renaissance, right?
Um,
Um, I when I saw the track listing before I even heard it, I just kind of chuckled because I already know, right? For people that don't even know what the concept of Invisible Renaissance is, I kind of want you to go through that because for one thing, we've seen people over the years try to steal it and act like they came up with it. You know what I'm saying? So
you
like,
know, people, even certain people that say that they got even tried to copyright it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And you know who
tried
I'm
to
talking about.
copyright
But
Invisible Renaissance. Oh man,
yeah,
come
and it's
on.
like my first book was called Filtered Real Essays from the Invisible Renaissance. And I
Hmm.
started to call this era since the 2010s, the Invisible Renaissance.
Hmm.
Remember, in the 2010s, I decided to go solo.
Hmm.
Fuck the major magazines. I was at all the good ones. I'm gonna go solo. And so what happened was is that when I started to write my own blogs and things like that, I would go to shows and I was like, man, how come I'm the only guy here? Like this guy's talent is way beyond me. Like not, what I mean by beyond me is like way beyond one guy being the only guy here.
Yeah, right.
Didn't have to be running to the corners of the earth going, Spit Gems is really dope. Like,
Hmm.
but that's
Hmm.
how I found myself. This is how I found myself. Oh, Napoleon the Legend. This guy's gonna be hot stuff,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
And these aren't even MCs that I found. These are other MCs. I met Napoleon the Legend because Sean Price refused to let me write about him. He never
Wow.
wanted me to write about him in a major magazine. He was like, I got enough. I'm good. You know what I
Wow.
mean? And he
Wow.
said, "Yo, I want come through." It was in Harlem. He was like, we
Hmm.
was in Spanish Harlem. Come here. He invited me to a rooftop in Spanish Harlem because they were doing the video, Napoleon the Legend's Wiseman song with Sean P on it, and that's where I met Napoleon. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's like I was at a show in 2013, beginning no, not yeah, 2013 maybe no, or 2000 late 2012, and it was the release party for Spit Gem's "Fuck the Radio" album. You know,
Hmm.
one great one, another great album from him. And everybody's there. Everybody's there. Bing Bong is there, right? Nems is there. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
AG the Coroner, CF, Constant Flow is there. Everybody that's everybody. FU is there. Everybody's there. A1, the whole Broken Home crew, right? And I just finished interviewing that day, Ka for the very first time.
Wow. Hmm.
Oh, it's like one of my greatest hip hop days in the universe, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just finished listening to Rock Marciano's Reloaded, again.
Hmm.
We've kept listening to that again and again. That's how many times you got to keep hearing it. And I'm like, yo, am I the only one that's writing about this shit?
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
Superbad Soulless was in the Cipher, everything. Thurston Howell's making everybody do floods. The flood, he's calling for a flood for all low lives that make music.
Ah. Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm going, yo, I'm in there with Napoleon. Napoleon's telling me what he intends to do. So
Hmm.
all the albums that you hear later for 5, 6 years,
Hmm.
he's telling me he's gonna do those.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm leaving there and I'm going, damn, I'm the only one I think that was here. And a lot of times at that time I'm finding out that a lot of journalists would go to places, but they wouldn't cover it. Like they'd go but not write an article about it. So
Hmm.
that means that they either didn't care or they weren't the person that wrote about it didn't want to publish it.
Right. Right.
So Complex and stuff, they were there, but they
Hmm.
weren't writing about it. So I was like, yo, it's almost like nobody's seeing this. Because to me, if a journalist doesn't publish about it, it isn't seen.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, it's like a renaissance. And I got the renaissance from my man Hellraiser. Salute to
Hmm.
Hellraiser,
Peace to
because
the
I
God.
always think about Hellraiser because I was supposed to interview Hellraiser um right at the time that he got his aneurysm.
Mm.
We were on the phone building, and he was like,
Hmm.
"Yo, we got to do a serious build," because I would build with Hellraiser,
Hmm.
and then he got his aneurysm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so many things changed, and I never got the build. So that because he's the Renaissance child, remember? He's the
Absolutely.
Renaissance
I got a
child,
chance
and
to
I was
build with El Rahim. I mean, not. I mean, Hellraiser through his one of his physicals, El Rahim, and
that's right, El Rahim, yeah,
yeah,
peace to the
yeah.
God, yeah,
Hmm.
and he's such a great brother, and El Rahim too, man,
Yeah, indeed. Peace to the God.
and 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 I was like, yo, this is like a Renaissance though.
Hmm.
But it's
Hmm.
an invisible renaissance. And I said, "Oh,
Mm.
I'm the invisible renaissance." And that's how it came about. And when I did the song, you know what's funny? In the beginning, right? I say the bars here, right?
Hmm.
I be forgetting my own songs. I'm always on the but when I wrote this song wasn't for me.
Mm.
This song was for Elo Kush.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So when I said in the beginning in the intro, I said the build that was left asleep becomes the cornerstone of the square I keep, right? It means I had to keep it myself. So I said, now
Hmm.
words burnt in smoking kush return to Elohim book. And it's a reference
Ah.
like they were meant to smoke for kush, but now
Hmm.
they're going back to the God's book because
Fire.
yeah. So he didn't really use them. He didn't use them, and it was because of the way the song was and the tempos and stuff.
Hmm.
And Elo Kush is my man, though. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like yo, we're gonna do something. But that's why I did it. And I was like, they were like basically like, what is this invisible renaissance? Because he was asking me, rhyme about the invisible renaissance. Give me something about that. And that's what the first verse is about. It's like I'm in the world of the Renaissance. Like I'm there.
Hmm.
This landscape is on the blocks that pun left and woo once crept. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just gets poetic. Like,
That's what I
maybe,
was going to say. That's what I appreciate about that
yeah,
joint too, because it's extremely poetic, right? And um, I just like that pocket that you got in,
yeah.
and just how you and just the schemes and cadence is really dope.
Take that, man. Yeah. I mean, like when I'm writing, I never write for what's simple. I
Hmm.
want people to like to see like, yo, this is like rewindable shit. And when I played the song to people, they were like, yo, man, I need to hear it again because it's got too much shit in it.
That's what I was going to say. You're not going to with
Yeah.
your with your music, you're not going to catch it
Yeah,
all on one listen.
and it was just fun to do. And again, a lot of the stuff is that concentrated supremacy idea that I always talk about, concentrate the supremacy. And it's really from Jizza. The influence is really Jizza, how he can have like 8 bars and it's
Hmm.
more potent than everybody's 20,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
And I just love writing like that, and just it was fun to write that, like ground, a hard gravel, a crackling hi-hats and cymbals, trees that sprout breaks and wind zephyr, words cipher assemble.
Mm,
Powered plants, the samples of ample minerals tumble. I walk these acres with the lens most humble. I was like,
mm.
I'm just seeing it all. I'm just
Yeah.
walking, seeing
Nah, that's
breaks,
dope.
like, you know.
But that's what makes it dope, man. And I can't remember if it was Invisible Renaissance, but there was even a line um where you were talking about you mentioned the battle and gossip battles and respect fake, right? Another one
That's
of
in
your
the interlude when I just
yeah,
talk
yeah,
shit.
another one of your
Because
turn.
it's funny because a lot of the ways I make music are in here because if you notice, if King doesn't do the chorus, I don't
Hmm.
like doing it.
Right, right, right.
So I was doing the song and I was like, damn, there's a lot of space in here. And
Hmm.
I can't be more angry for a third verse. There's like I just So I just was like, yo, I always call the industry the other group, the other ghetto. So it's like the
Mm.
industries, like in these industries. And I just named all the shit. And that's why I said that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Um,
Nah, because I just from having conversation with you, that stood out because I was like, I know exactly where you're coming from with it
yeah.
because
And this is really, this is
yeah,
really how I talk. This is
yeah,
how
exactly, exactly.
this is really how I
Uh,
talk.
on the joint, Real Fabric with King Kamaal, I love that. I love the bars. I love the hook. True Cipher, uh, the
Wow.
beat on that, yeah, man, this is
Oh, yeah.
extremely dope. If you can talk about that joint a little bit.
Yeah, the prelude on there is actually like a thing I wrote I write in the beginning of all my books,
Hmm.
study the enhance, supreme enhance, and I always say the letters mommy, the letters that the letters that grew up almighty, from the letters mommy gave me. My mother always made me write.
Hmm.
She always was the one that forced me to write and shit like that. You know what I mean? And so I was just on that wavelength. And when I was making this song, I was that it's funny because I was thinking like, man, I got to do something good on all these songs because these beats could get they got to get fucked up
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
Two
Nah,
Cypher just did they
beats are
fucking thing on
crazy.
that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think this is from I wrote a lot of poems once I became low life that are about like what's the deeper meaning of being a low life.
Mm,
People always seeing is like just stealing clothes and shit, but that the more you talk it to a lot, especially the low lives that are real artists,
hmm.
it's really like, yo, we're not pieces of shit. We're not ghetto urchins. We're someone of value.
Hmm.
And we're not going to wear clothes that don't reflect that. We're
Right,
going to get clothes that reflect our value. And
right.
so that's where I was always like that's why I say my illnesses don't fit any of these clothes. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
So it wasn't illnesses like sicknesses, but like, yo, we ill, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like fit in these regular clothes. We got to get the low, you know what I mean? And and it was like the poverty can't fund all these ideas. And it's funny because I write this like the
Yeah,
low
that
life
line,
culture.
I remember that line standing out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because the low life culture is like a lot of hip hop culture. It's like it's very capitalistic. It's very like, yo, we're balling, we're doing great shit. But that's not my life though.
Yeah.
So in many respects, my life contradicts a lot of low life themes.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So I always try to be like, I look I look like this, but it's, I'm more CeeLo in through soul food,
Yeah, yeah,
more my
yeah.
reality. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Hmm.
And so I'm like, yo, I have all these things I'm doing, all these things that people respect and people love, but I struggle to do them every day. And I said that in Visible Renaissance too. You know what I mean? Um, you know, about this idea that we could do so many things, but we still struggle day to day to just like, yo, eat good, live good, have all these things that we want. It's a struggle. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of music.
Yeah,
Even hustler music don't have like the struggle,
right.
you know? And it used to. It really used
Hmm.
to, you know? And
There was always commentary. So I was. It's funny that you say that because I think about that a lot. Like how even when it comes to new artists, right? Um, you hear their music, they're already paid. They're already like it's your first album, right? Like, and it's like, damn, where is the where is the grind? Where is the hustle? Where
let
is
me tell you something, God, in this
mm-hmm,
journalism shit, and because of the relationships that I've been able to make, though, right?
mm-hmm,
There are artists though that they're totally humble, and
mm-hmm,
in music and everything they talk about the struggle, but they've done really well for themselves, and they eating, but they're never about that.
right.
So they relate the struggle. But there's a lot of other brothers that are good brothers, but they can't stop talking about balling,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
struggling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah. Damn.
struggling, and
Hmm.
we're struggling together. Like we're yo,
Hmm.
like sometimes rent is a struggle, sometimes rent is easy.
Hmm.
That's the life. That's the life. We're all paycheck to paycheck or a few paychecks off. You
Facts.
know what I mean? And if you're lying because if you say anything else, because we're trying to give our kids stuff that's way beyond. But even if you say, "Oh, I got so much money, I could afford my kids' college education,"
Hmm.
but we know that that don't even secure them their education.
Right,
That
right.
don't secure them their life because that's not what
Hmm.
what we're dealing with. So I just tried to show those things in that verse like that. You know what I mean? And just a lot of flip with the clothes and shit. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
Because, I get a lot of shit for being low life. Um, Apparently I can't teach the youth because I got too much polo on. You know what I mean? Shit like that. I can't be a 5%er because of this. But the low lives as a group, they embrace, generally speaking, they're a group that embraces what is most useful.
Hmm.
So more people have dealt with this knowledge in the low lives that wasn't dealing with it before. So it's not, they're very receptive of other cultures and other thought processes. That's why they're so great at making chapters all over the world. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? They go and understand the Mexican culture. They go and understand the Canadian culture, the Italian culture, because there's chapters everywhere. There's
Yeah,
chapters everywhere. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And I tried to express that. And then in the second verse, man, I just was really having fun with the pockets in that song. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And just flipping it and just really metaphoring. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people, oh, they don't know that polo is a Persian game, so I always be like, the Polo and Persian game. That's why I said Rumi. Rican Jalaluddin
Fire.
Rumi.
But that's such an ill
Scribe.
connection, man. Like
Yeah,
in the mind of the
'cause
Sunez,
Rumi was
yo.
Persian, and I'm playing the Persian polo game. But in
Yeah.
there, in the verse, though, I'm not meaning the polo game. I'm meaning the game like right into the chicks, really
Right, right, right,
right into
right.
women, really suave. You know what I mean? It was just a fun song, like and just because like Jizza, he does. I don't do similes a lot. I do
Hmm.
very few similes. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like my similes are weird. Like in Choose the Lovo Sinatra, I said something like this is hard like ogre's chores. Because like an ogre is gigantic, so their chores must be really hard because they're
Yeah, yeah.
like these are my metaphors. My similes are very weird. Um, but the metaphors I do a lot. So like the on grand horses tradition, SJP in Garvey Village, SJP St. John's and St. John's Place and Marcus Garvey Village on the low life cookie. Those are the two places that really
Mm.
everything converts. So all the boosting
Hmm.
crews they got together. That was the main areas. So low
Wow.
lives is really a Wu-Tang of the boosting crews. That's really
Yeah,
what it is. It's really like a Voltron of the
yeah,
you know? So I kept relating hip hop to that, like four Gallop elements, but I created my own for Pillage, like, so my own writer element, I created my own writer element, so just playing with the metaphors, making it sound nice, you know what I mean?
yeah. Indeed. One of my favorite joints is A Prophet's Bliss. Um,
Yeah.
love that joint, man.
Yo. Yeah.
Sonically, subject matter. Yeah, what was the vision behind this joint?
Oh man, that song I didn't even pick that in my original beats. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I didn't
Well,
even know it
I'm glad you
existed.
did, because that
Yeah,
shit's like
I
my
didn't pick it
favorite.
because it didn't exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, in my the bats that he gave me because it's O in tones. That those
Hmm.
are the duo that make up true cipher. Lo dominicano, coño. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And lo de mío, lo dominicano. You know what I mean? And you know what's funny? I got to know O because we met at a show, and people always assume like we don't get along, our people, and we're always this and that. Yo, me and we talk about salsa, classic
Mm.
salsa. That's what we talk about the most. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And he knows all the music. Like he's got crates, everything. And Tones gave that beat to King Kamaal and said it would sound dope. He thought that it would sound dope if King did the hype part with
Hmm.
the horns, and
Hmm.
then when it got to its reprise, if I did like a poem, my poems flow
Hmm.
with that reprise, you know? And honestly, Rakim, I just stole the track. I was like, yo, can I just have this? Can I have this for my album?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when I flowed on it, I was like, damn, that shit was the pockets I caught was crazy. And it was all stem just thinking about my daughter, my youngest daughter, because that was like I wrote that when everybody was obsessed in New York killing lantern flies, you know? And I'm like, yo, why we're told we're never every time we're told to do something positive, we don't listen. But
Hmm.
we're told to kill something and we go
Hmm.
out, we all go kill it.
Hmm.
You know? And I just
That
found
was the
out
thing, killing lantern flies.
because they would swarm everywhere, and there was a lot
Hmm.
of lantern flies that summer. And I was like, yo, and I told my daughter like, you love nature, and I said, listen, I taught you to listen. If you got to kill a bug inside the house, you got to kill him.
Hmm.
But we're outside. That's where they live, and
Hmm.
we're together with them outside. So don't kill an ant. Don't kill nothing. I won't even kill a roach outside. If it ain't,
Right.
I won't even kill them outside. It's like, yo, we're all together out here. It's where you belong. So
Hmm.
I told her not to kill, and that's where the line came.
Mm.
Flies that we won't kill, let them flutter and still on sills, you know? And
I not to cut you off guard, but I love how a lot of these bars just come from an extremely real place and things that you
yeah,
observe, man.
yeah,
That makes
yeah.
it, but that makes the music more, it makes it more authentic, more
You
real.
know, all the poetry that I ever write for these art pieces about people's music always
Hmm.
comes inspired by what they said.
Hmm.
So now I just revert that and think about what are the things that I do. And that's, I think, what makes it useful, me as an MC, because God, no, it's not exaggeration if I say no one's lived the life I've lived. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
No one's been
Hmm.
a martial artist like this. No one's been a teacher at a law school that long like that. Nobody's done this. You know what I mean? So the Puerto Rican perspective, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that people haven't lived all in one shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a very unique life, and just trying to show those perspectives come from the small things, and just really was making it fly. Like it's a lot of personal shit in there, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, Political writers, I love the militancy that Chris Hedges writes about and speaks about. You know what I mean? If there was a white version, which is
Hmm.
pale to a white, Rakim, if Chris Hedges was there, not quite because there's
Yeah, no,
no
I got you.
there's no grafted version of you, but you know what I mean? But the anarchist, seeking to find devilishment in all power structures. That's why I wrote musing on an article by Chris Hedges because that's what he always writes about. You know what I
Mm.
mean? That's
Hmm.
what he always ponders about. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
And that shit when I said, like Miles Blue and Green plays, people wouldn't know that unless they know me, but I always play that song before I teach my class on Thursday. So
Mm.
that's 25 years. I never start my class until I hear some of that,
Yeah, that's
you
dope.
know? So like
Yeah,
I could really perform that song like
yeah.
like a conductor. But in that verse, I was really throwing most of the darts at Puffy, you know what I mean? At Puffy.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when I started as a writer in 94, that was right when I was published in November of 94, right when Ready to Die came out.
Hmm.
And I used to be in Medina and around Beat Street, which was like a big record store in Flatbush, and on DeKalb Avenue, and I would be looking crazy. Who is this Puerto Rican guy hating on Biggie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would say like, "Yo, what Biggie's doing, it's gonna mess up everything. You know, it's gonna mess up everything." I was really like the prophecy of the last days and times. The hardcore B side with the pop A side is gonna ruin hip hop. You know, and then
Right.
when Mary J. Blige's what's the
What's the
album?
411?
The second one.
Oh, My Life.
When they used all those samples like that, the
Those Roy
Barry White and
Ayers
all that,
and Roy
and Roy
Ayers.
Ayers,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
easy, just straight jacks. Not
Hmm.
those aren't
Yeah,
loops.
it wasn't a chop or anything like
Yeah,
that. They
there's
just
no, yeah. So I was like, I love the album, but I'm saying something's wrong with this, yo. And like, so I'm telling guys about Biggie, and I'm talking to girls about my life. You know what I mean? I'm trying to explain to them how it's no good for hip hop.
Yeah.
This is how crazy I was. So I was like, yo, and I was like, yo, that guy Diddy, man, he's that Puffy, man, he's a devil, man. He's fucking
Mm.
up. I was saying it all the
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
And it became a reason. That was one of the main reasons why I was getting blackballed from a lot of magazines because they were the dominant force. They were the
Yeah.
dominant pop force,
Yeah.
and you keep saying that. But that's why I said he's a culture of a vulture, rape any blessed structure. Whether
Mm.
black woman, edifice of a song's toil, the song, or the blessedness of black women's soil. And that's a fact. He diluted song and he beat the black woman up. I mean, these are
Yeah.
facts. You know what
These
I
are
mean?
facts. Yeah.
You
Nah,
know?
that's real. One thing also too, I just wanted to kind of ask you why I have you here, God, because I never really paid attention to it until this weekend, and I had a little bit of free time,
Yeah.
and I was just catching back up on some stories, and I guess also too because there has been some new insights into what's happening. But did you ever think you would see somebody lose a battle and then sue?
I mean, that's crazy. Yeah,
I'm just saying, God, because like I never
yo,
thought,
yeah.
I never thought I would
You
see.
know what? Here's what I think, right?
Mhm.
I think that um a lot of these battles though, they expect them to just be uh promo events for themselves.
Yeah.
They expect the other side to just let it go, and we took it to the peak of our pop levels,
Hmm.
the peak of what we could exploit it, and now we just continue on with our careers with a new angle, you
Hmm.
know? And I
Hmm.
think that one thing, I'm not a big Kendrick Lamar fan, and I find a
I
lot of
know.
his stuff more performative than I find like really hands-on. But I think that Kendrick Lamar was being coached to go along with the flow and beat him, but don't. And I think he totally said, "Fuck that. I'm gonna just go all the way." And I say that because he didn't make just one song. He made like 1,000 songs
Right.
about him, and it reminded me of like, you know what, that whole series of beef that he had with him, where he made all those songs. It kind of reminds me of like jazz box sets. You know, where you got like a
Mm.
million versions of Miles Davis. It never entered my mind. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
Like you get like five, six, seven versions.
Right.
There's gonna be like box sets of like the Kendrick Lamar.
Right.
It's like a
That's
box
a
set. Like, you
fact.
get a little, you
Because
get like a
you're right. Because there were rumors that some of those songs were like
yeah.
15 minutes, and he cut it down.
Yeah, like one day we could get like all of them, like a little box set, like the
You're
Kendrick
absolutely
Lamar
right,
mixes,
though.
the
Yeah.
Drake sessions, and
Yeah.
get them all like that. You know what I mean? And I think it's because people they never were in the culture, they never were in the idea, they
Well,
weren't even embedded in the battle culture, like because it's a totally different universe.
yeah.
They weren't even.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, God, because I know you see what. All right, so battle's been over for about a year, right? But have you seen the way, like, I guess, uh, these, and I don't know if they're younger fans. I would have to assume that they were, but like the way that they are responding to the battle and doing this whole using it for content, and we're gonna try to dig up dirt, and it just seems weird, man.
Yeah, in my, I can only, the best way I guess I can talk about it now is my only personal experience,
Hmm.
like when we did Jordan versus Elo,
Hmm.
uh the burnt Burnt Silk and Blessed Builds album with King Kamal.
Hmm.
Um, the King Kamal's chorus was about and the concept that he introduced the song with was like the people the superstars you meet in life won't always be like they are, like you think they are,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm like, I don't really have those experiences because most of the superstars I met that I wrote about, they were amazing. Karis One, you know, all these guys, they were really great with me.
Hmm.
Ice-T, like these guys gave me, like Karis One and Ice-T, they gave me, Ice-T gave me a 2 hour interview. KRS One
Wow.
gave me a 3 hour interview. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I still
Wow.
have that one. That's an old crate. I'm gonna release one day. But
Nice.
the when I did the verse, I was like, yo, let me talk about this punk that was a failed student and just keeps trying to diss me and goad me. And I think I'm not I didn't have to look I don't think that when you battling somebody, you should have be looking deep into their life and going into their personal shit.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, call out the fallacies of your personal dealing with them.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of these guys, they didn't personally deal with them.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like they weren't really your enemy like that. I think when KRS One did
With
The Bridge Is
Shan.
Over and all that,
Hmm.
they personally did things to him. They said your song sucks and we're not playing it here.
Yeah.
'Cause that's really how it happened with Mr. Magic and all that. We're not playing that
Oh
here.
yeah, that's what they
And
said to
then
KRS.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Hmm.
KRS was,
He's
oh,
like,
okay, you
what?
want to be like that. And the
Yeah.
crew is the Queen's crew, and they're saying that they had something to do with anything.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
at them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's dealing with the fallacies of what they had. He's not like talking about those things like that, you know. I think people go with the ether model that Nas had,
Yes.
but people
Yes.
forget that Nas and Jay-Z were in the industry for so long
Hmm.
that they know a lot of things about each other.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's not going to be the same,
Yeah.
you know. But getting
Nah.
smoked and then suing, I mean, that's
No.
like an 80s villain shit. That's 80s villain. That's
Yeah.
80s villain. Like the 80s blonde villain is does this shit kind of shit.
Nah, no, real talk. And the reason I asked that because on this album, me and you've had conversations before about some albums that people may consider like in today's time, right? Mainstream albums that people may uh consider conscious are really just like kind of liberal type um
Yeah,
ideas.
you know, you caught that. I was just when I was riffing on Invincible Renaissance, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but
Neoliberal, neoconservative, like they're not really, yeah, they don't
eh,
really have those angles.
but you have some militant concepts in this, but I know you and that's who you are. And like, I don't think a lot of times people know the difference.
You know, the best example, like I write about what I really lived and I lived it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And I could show and prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like the activism, the building in the streets,
Hmm.
the classes, et cetera, right? The hip hop pedigree, because they got the resume. But my best example of that is see the first I've seen firsthand, like a real rebel, somebody who really lives the lyrics, besides the shooters and the hustlers, because I know a lot of them that really did that shit.
Yeah.
But really was in Motor Technique.
Mm.
Motor Technique, when he was in the CUNY University system, and
Hmm.
at I met at Hunter College
Hmm.
at a panel I was doing. And everybody was disagreeing with me on the panel because I told you I was very anti-Puffy and all that. So we're talking about like, you know, Puffy's the mad magician.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
like 97 or something like that.
Hmm.
And I'm, you know, and people are disagreeing with me. And here's this guy, he stands up and says, yo, I agree with everything you said. You know,
Mm. And
just
it's a
everything
motive
like,
tech.
"Ugh," you know?
Yeah,
And I said,
yeah.
I thank, and then they did some freestyling. This guy did a freestyle that was so vicious,
Mm.
or people didn't want to rhyme. They gave me the mic, and I said,
Damn.
I don't rhyme. What are you doing?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I started to build with him and tell him what I do and everything like that.
Hmm.
And he wrote for my first magazine, Our Swords, Our Sacred Words, Our
Hmm.
Sword magazine.
Hmm.
And the thing is that I saw him be a real revolutionary and be out there affect change.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like really go out there and build housing for people in the Middle East. You know, he really did that.
Right,
Like
right.
really do the shit that he was talking about. And even on a personal note, when I called him up for a quote one time, just because
Hmm.
like working at the source and doing a short article, and he said, "You're working at the source? Ah, my man, now I thought we was revolutionary." He said
Right,
that,
right,
and I said, "Ah, fuck you, Tech. No, fuck. I'm kind of getting upset about it
Yeah,
though. Okay, no, man,
yeah.
fuck you, Tech. Nah, man, it's not funny." And I said they ain't even paid me, so it's not even like I can't sell out if they didn't pay me
hmm
yet.
hmm
And the next day I go to work because I told them that they owed me about a certain amount, a nice amount, a big
hmm
amount for freelance work because I'm there as an editor, but they never paid me for the freelance.
Right.
And next day I get to work.
hmm
The editors up top in the finance department, they come down to my desk and they say, "Listen, this never happened before, but a rapper never complained. They never
hmm
complained to us that one of our writers didn't get paid.
Oh shit.
They gave me the check for all of it."
Damn.
And I say, "Yo, that's the power of fucking immortal technique, man." The, to the end of time, like, yo, I think to me, and I mention him because we're dealing very political times. I think he's one of the great political thinkers of our era. Like he's the Noam Chomsky of hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
You know, and he really is about that shit. You know what I mean?
Hmm
And like, yo, there's no way I would have made music if I didn't have like the stories and the insights to write about that shit. You know, I can't write that I'm rich and shit. I could write that I got fly shit, but don't get it confused
Right.
though. Like,
Right.
you know, we
Yeah,
just
we in the
know how to
struggle.
dress fly. You know what I mean?
Hmm
Like, know how to do it, but and we know how to do this. I know, if I write about martial arts, I really know how to use them things. You know what I mean? I really
hmm
know, like, so it's I don't know how fake motherfuckers do it, but it's very easy for me to do it.
Yeah. One of the joints, two that I love, X-Men '97 and Live at the Polo Dojo.
Oh
Two
man.
two dope records. I love the titles of them joints.
Yeah, man. I had
Uh,
just finished watching the X-Men one.
the reboot, right?
Yeah, the X-Men 97. And then I
Yeah.
was thinking about 97 Mentality, the Capadonna song, you know what I mean? And
Hmm
97 Mentality, Capadonna killed it, but it's Ghostface's chorus that is one of my favorite choruses of all time.
hmm
Because I'm a serious, I'm a, I'm a woo head.
Yeah.
And RZA, the Jizza, they're probably the biggest influences in the way I write,
hmm
And I was thinking, yo, I'm gonna call it X-Men 97 mentality,
hmm
And I've always loved the X-Men because I love Wolverine, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
He's a he's vicious though, and he's my height, so I was like, damn, that's what it is, the
Yeah.
little that
Yeah.
don't give a shit, And but when I did the song, I wanted to mention everything, but I'm
hmm
obviously giving the metaphor to our realities, you know what I mean? That's why, like in the second verse, I'm the characters Bastion and all the villains I'm equating to Bill Gates and
No,
Elon
that's
Musk.
what I love
Shit.
about it. Hmm
I'm equating like, yo, this is kind of the same thing. And
hmm
we've always been the mutants, God. We the ones with the powers, and we're the ones that are the oppressed. You know what I mean?
hmm
And it was just a fun song. I think the only mistake I made was highlighted immediately because there's always like comic book geeks that are far greater than I.
hmm
That I didn't mention Warcrawler in there. You know what I mean? But it
Yeah.
was the guy I missed from the X-Men 97. But that pocket, I told you, King had done the choruses, so I only had a certain amount of space. So I'm trying to fit everything I want to say. And I said, yo, the way the beat's going, I was thinking about the Sentinels, the
hmm
robot that capture the mutants. And I was like, yo, I'm gonna rhyme it like a robot like that. You know what I mean?
hmm
So,
That's where that came from. Ah,
that's where the
man.
verse, yeah, like I'm rhyming like a sentinel. If it was
Hmm
like and
hmm
if there's a comic too that I read. It's Wolverine by Benjamin Percy, a whole series, and he has a Sabretooth war at the end,
hmm
and Sabretooth's son takes over one of the Sentinels. So I was like thinking in my head, I'm gonna take over a Sentinel, and then I'm rhyming through the Sentinel robot. But
That's
it was
crazy.
I wrote that song when the Olympics was going on with the B-boys.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was
Oh
thinking about
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's why I said up
That
rock.
that
Yeah.
debacle there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's yeah, yeah. The Australian thing. Let me tell you something. I loved all the performances, and it became worth it to laugh at that Australian lady's thing. You know what's sad? The Australian brother that represented
He
Australia.
was killing it, right?
Oh, he must be like, yo, what overshadowed. Yo,
Yeah.
but but when I was doing that, that's why I said up rock past assimilation, down
Mm.
rock through acclamation. Because
Hmm.
one of my big themes is like assimilating. That's one thing that ruins Puerto Rican independence, the movements for our people. You know, it's what makes the beauty and the brilliance of the people of Gaza. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They refuse to assimilate and to acclimate. Like they continue to fight, you know? And that's why I said passive aggressive sessions answered with full fisted aggression. Because people that know me, don't give me, we could go very articulate, we could go very scholarly, but if you do passive aggressive shit,
Yeah.
I take that out the window. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
now we'll go around the corner for that shit.
Right.
But it was just really equating like, yo, our reality is like the X-Men. We're learning in a school.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The elders, they made me feel every day that we had superpowers,
Yeah.
every day, you know what I mean? And I was learning with like a million Professor X's, infinite algebra, Dumar,
Mm.
Wadi,
Hmm.
knowledge me, remembered imperfection, freedom, Allah, Papa Wu, like legends. I was with legends. So I was like, yo, I'm learning from superheroes. So it was an easy song to do. It was just
Yeah.
man fun. You know what I
Nah,
mean?
nah, nah. That's
And
dope.
then
That's live at
the
the
other
Polo Dojo. You got to
Polo
tell me
Dojo,
about that one.
that's another song where
I
I
think that
did
might be. I think that one might be my favorite too.
that song I wrote that one deliberately saying like, yo, a lot of people love the way I write and say things poetically. They appreciate my poetry.
Hmm.
But in a lot of ciphers, certain people were like, he's a good poet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, listen, I'm making hip hop records. You're saying it now in a subtle way to say that I can't really rhyme. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Not in the pockets and stuff,
Hmm. Hmm.
I was like, in this song is a perfect pocket though. It's a soulful
Yeah.
track, and I was like, I don't even, and I know King, I was like, I know King taught me to put choruses, but I'm not gonna do it the traditional way. I'm gonna keep to my MF Doom ethos
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
choruses. And I just repeated select lines to be the chorus on
Hmm.
each one. And I was just like, yo, I'm just gonna
No, but that it really
that I,
works though.
that I could really, really MC,
Hmm.
you know, it didn't end up that way. It ended up that way. A lot of times when I do songs, the last verse is the most fluid or the best written because I'm looking at all the others.
Hmm.
Uh, but then in the last verse, the pocket, like no one could deny me as an MC if they hear the last verse, you know,
Absolutely.
because when the warrior the world peddles on paper from buried weapons in my garden of massacres, like um between stanzas of roses and doses of Atropa Belladonna, commas pause the llamas in the drama to Dama bodhisattvas that leave nirvana with new methods of sadhana, whistle to the swoon of verse piranha. Like when you hear that verse, it's really like it's really just about me meditating on the mentalities. And because when we learn martial arts, though, I also learned a lot of other ancient philosophies. So
Hmm.
I always see the knowledge of self in the ancient philosophies. And I was just trying to equate that in there. That's why I said sword nestles the sheath. You know what I mean? Pen
Hmm.
rest, ink in exotic loose leaf. Like I do everything in the militant war way. I write that way and I also train that way. You know what I mean? So everything is like that. Like most of the books I write are usually after I trained
Yeah.
because I get the vibe from. And at the end, I couldn't. It just came out that way, and I had to throw another dart at Luke Cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just had to do it.
Um, last joint I wanted to ask you about is Arawak Lavish, right? I love the title. Um, it's I mean, a dope track.
Yeah,
Talk to
yeah.
me about that.
I would say if I could, after I talk about that one, 'cause I just want to mention my favorite song I was doing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Arak Lavish, though, it's funny. I go, Yo, King, I called it Arak Lavish, and he goes, That's a dope title. Like he said
It
it like
is. That
I'm
could
like
be a name of an
I'm like,
album.
No, it could be. And I
Hmm.
was like, Yo, I said, King, you said that in the chorus, though. What do you?
Hmm.
I didn't write. He's like, Yo, that's a dope. And I'm like, Yo, you said that, not
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
He, he
Hmm.
be he be saying shit and forgetting the dope shit he said. And
Right.
the thing about that song was like that song reminded me of the MF Doom song on King Ghidorah album where
Mm.
features the one feature where he's not on.
Mm.
I think it's called I Wish, right? On the King Ghidorah album. I'll show it to you now.
Mhm.
Because when I see the track list, MF Dooms is always a, when I think of flow and tempo and fluidity and flow, Doom is usually who I think of a lot. You know what I mean? And Nas too, because they
Yeah.
they don't make mistakes in the pocket, and that's really why. But there's a song called "I Wonder" with Hassan Chop, and it's a very somber song. And
Hmm.
for some reason, the descent of the strings on that song reminded me of that. So I wanted to have like that MF Doom keep going kind of thing.
Hmm.
And that's really how that song came about, you know what I mean? And I wanted it, the first verse is really like it sounds like a battle bar, but it's really about all the horrible things that happen, all the horrible things that happen. Can we actually see the things that go on in a young man's mind when we teach him? All the things
Mm.
that prepare, all the things that he can't understand.
Yeah.
Because when we're teachers, we teach, but we don't always do we look at the student and what the confusion and the state of confusion that they're in? Do we understand that state of confusion? Because when we was taught knowledge of self, right, we was always taught to understand the 85.
Hmm. Hmm.
As Jamel, he used to teach on Wednesday, remembered imperfection. He used to always talk about, you gotta love the 85, God. You gotta love the blind, deaf, and dumb. You gotta love them. You gotta love them, or else you won't be able to teach them the right
Right.
way. You teach them like they're peons.
Yes.
Oh,
Right. We see
like
a lot of that sometimes
they're,
too, to be honest.
and teach down to them. And I always hated that teaching down to them thing. I
Hmm.
like that you rise them up, you know?
Hmm.
That's really what that song is about. And a lot of there's a lot of Frank Sinatra references in there too, especially in the tempo, because I'll pull it up right here. When I do the second verse, it has like a crescendo on it.
Hmm.
The beat goes up. So I was like, let me put the Sinatra shit in there. And I was in the wee small hours of morning, songs for only the lonely or foreman. You know,
Hmm.
we in the wee small hours, that's an album.
Hmm.
Only songs for only the lonely is another album from Frank Sinatra.
I
So
promise you, I didn't even catch that.
yeah,
That's dope.
those are two of his famous ballads albums. So like
Hmm.
if you don't think Frank Sinatra has a great voice because you'd only heard the big hits in the end, listen to those albums. You realize the singing skill sets that he had, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But that's really what the song is about. Because I said hymns to those expedient to dissidents. In other words, this song is like these songs for those that are quick to be a dissident, quick to go against the shit, to
Hmm.
rebel on intel that spell our fell. So like that's what the song is for. Like these songs are for people that's quick to get live to rebel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what the song is about. So I just kind of flipped it on the last verse about that. And it's
Hmm.
more battle bars in the last verse about being that type of rebel. But I have fun doing that, you know what I mean? That might have been the first song I did with one of King's choruses.
Mm.
That's the first song I did with one of King's choruses. But the most fun song I did was the Another Apocalypse though.
Mm. Yeah. Talk about
Did
that.
that. I did that one with my daughter, you know, and she likes to make music. She likes to produce beats. And she just likes to mess with the keyboards. I don't push her and everything like that. As she gets older, I'll be like, yo, let's check out this stuff here, you
That's
know.
so dope, though.
But she likes to just make songs and stuff. And she made her own song called Apocalypse.
Hmm.
And she about the doom of everything. And I was like, damn, I be teaching her well, 'cause she said a lot of shit that I
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
And young, she was 11 when she wrote it. I was like, damn.
Hmm.
Huh? So I said, yo, I want to do another one.
Hmm.
That's why it's called Another Apocalypse.
Mm.
And I want to do another one, but you want to be on it? So I didn't make the verse. I wrote the verse, and then I didn't show her the verse or anything. But I just told her like, "Yo, can you do like a whole like thing of like everything's crumbling and people is like everything's in
Yeah.
shambles, chaos, and you got to say try to help people and save the city." And she did it in one take. And what made
Wow.
it fun, the song was that I already wrote these verses and practiced them.
Hmm.
I recorded them. So now I'm excited to record it because I have it. I have her part. I'm recording the two verses and I'm making mistakes and having to start all over again. And she's just eye rolling her eyes
Yeah.
like, it take a long time, man. And I just did it with the older gods flow. I was like, the babies are the greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah, go sit down. Babies are the greatest. You know what I mean? I'm
Uh,
not the greatest though, and I finally got the chorus there. And then True Cipher, they equalized it where our levels were the correct way, and
hmm.
gunshots and the plane crashes and all that kind of
Yeah.
shit,
Hmm. Dope.
and the bombs and stuff. And it just was a fun song to make. You know what I mean? It was really fun. But
Indeed.
that's when I had. And then when I realized I had enough songs that really expressed it,
Hmm.
then I said, I think what was it? The last song I did was
It's the remix, but the
no, that was
oh,
that was
that was the first one. But I thought
that
you
was the
meant
first
in
song.
order
But the
of
last
the track
song I
list.
did for that album was actually Rebel Fabric. That
Mm-hmm.
described like the mentality of the whole album
Yeah.
enough that I was like, okay, this is done. It has what it needs to have in it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
that's the joint with King Kamal, and yeah, I love that one too.
yeah.
That's a great record.
Yeah,
Um,
the bedrock of the album is the Renaissance, Skillustrator penned and Rebel Fabric. That's really what the album's about. Everything
yeah,
else articulates it. But it was a lot of fun to do, man. And yo, like anything else, like when I started martial arts, I looked horrible. But the shit, when you do shit better, the shit is more fun.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think but that's I know that you're a perfectionist somewhat, and but no, man, this is a really really dope project,
Appreciate
and
that.
I definitely it's definitely one of those again projects where you're not gonna catch everything on the first listen. I
Yeah,
I,
man.
I want to also tell people, you know, it's great to listen to things on streaming, but if you appreciate the art,
Absolutely, man.
then go to Bandcamp and drop a few dollars, man. It's not gonna hurt you
Right. Yeah.
too much.
It's like this, right? If you hear the album and you thought it was dope, repost it at least, let
Yeah.
people have time, let people know why it was dope and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When I make music, when I do hip hop in general, it gives me money, but nothing that would sustain me in any kind of way.
Hmm.
It's really out of the love and stuff and the enjoy to do them and all the relationships that I made with it. So, and the album is just like that. I had a lot of fun doing it. I already got the 10 beats for the next joint, and
But
it's
it's supposed to be, man. Like making art is supposed to give you that feeling, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think people can hear it
listen,
also
and
in the output.
listening and writing about all this music over the years, I think I feel confident enough that when I made this, I could say like people's lyrics can only match. They can't surpass what I said here. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
What I lived here, what I did, what I said, how I poetically put it together. Like it's got to be top tier level on some on. There's so many levels to judge music. Some of the levels is top tier. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely, man. It's you've been a wordsmith before you even started
Appreciate that.
making music, and that's a fact,
Appreciate
man. And your position in this hip hop community is earned and well deserved. And I always appreciate these conversations that we have. We get
that.
to dig into the weeds of music and art, and it's such a dope thing. I want to make sure everybody the social media
Yeah, man.
follow them on social media. The links are in the
Yeah,
description.
Sunez.bandcamp is the place to get the album.
Hmm.
Sunez, Sunez, Instagram, Sunez number seven, Sunez7, Twitter. The honorable name, Edward, quote, Sunez Rodriguez
Hmm.
on Facebook. And yeah, you know what I mean? Let me know what you thought. You know what I mean?
No doubt, no doubt. Well, again, it's always a pleasure, my brother. To
Indeed,
the
all my
indeed, to the next time. Peace to the God.
peace.